Hi, I'm George Pearson. In this Photoshop Elements video, I'll be showing you how to make a white border around an object or a person, or as in this case, an animal. It's the same technique on any one of those. Now if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, and also don't forget to share with your friends through social media. Just hit that share button down below there, right below the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any videos in the future. And if you really want to learn how to use Photoshop Elements, the best way to do that is with my complete training course, and you'll find a link right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. We'll be recreating this white outline around the lion in this video. Same technique for the fox and for the penguin, exact same techniques. We'll just do it on just this one lion over here. Now the easy way to work with this and to copy our original picture, which is right here, over into our working file is just to drag and drop. To make that easier, it's best if you have your windows here set up for floating windows. You can see how this one's kind of a floating window. Let's just double check that real fast. That's Edit Menu, come down to Preferences and General right there. And make sure that these two checkboxes are checked. Allow floating documents in expert mode and also enable floating document window docking. With both of those checked, you can then dock or float your window as you like. For instance, I'm just going to take this one here, drag it right up to the edge there. Notice how it kind of goes transparent. When it does that, let go, and it's now docked in place. I can float it just by grabbing the tab here and pulling it down and floating the window. Let's just go ahead and dock that one. We'll now come to this file here. Now here's where this is real easy. Just take your background, drag it over there, and there we go. We've now copied this file into that file. We can now close this one. Now it came in right down here. It's underneath our two lion layers. Let me just close those, and right back to where I was at the beginning of this part of the process. Now make this also easy. It's nice to be able to come in and work fairly large on this. We can do that by, again, floating our window, giving us a bigger window to work with. If you need to see your options in behind there, all you have to do is just dock it temporarily, change your options, and then pull it out or pull it over out of the way like that. Different ways of doing that. Now the process here is to come in and make a nice selection around your subject. Come back in with the refine edge, clean up that selection, and then take it from there to make the white outline. So we'll start off with that. Now to do this, I want to come in a bit closer. There we are, so you can kind of see what we're doing in here. Just like that. Let's switch over here to the lasso tool. Make sure you're on that lasso tool here, not one of the other ones. That one's the perfect one for this job. Also, make sure you're on a new selection right there. And I'll start up just over here right by this animal's head. And just come down and make a selection up here close to the figure but not overlapping into it. If you reach the edge of your picture, just hold the space bar down. Gives you that move hand. You can then move the picture, let go, and then continue. Make sure you don't let go of that mouse button. When you do that, you'll have to start over again. So keep your mouse button held down while you make that move. I'll show you that again here in just a bit. So we'll go around the bottom. Again, I'm just coming in kind of close, but not too close, and I'm not overlapping into the line itself. Up to here. Now again, keeping your finger down on the mouse button, hold the space bar down, move the image, let go of the space bar, and then just continue like that. So as long as your finger is down on the mouse, you can go ahead and do that. If you let go of the mouse, it's going to cause you problems. And we'll just come over here around the head, around over to this side, and right back to the beginning. Cross that edge and let go, and there's our selection. Now we're not quite done yet. You just scroll down our window. We have these spaces here between the legs. We need to get those as well. Now for these, we're going to be subtracting this bit from our selection. Right now the selection is all of this, so I want to subtract this bit from our selection. Let's just change our tool here to this one. This is Subtract. There we are. And then come in. Now again, don't go over the line itself. Just come in kind of close. And take out a little bit here in the middle. The reason for this is we'll be using the refined edge, and it needs a border to work against. So we're giving it that little area to go ahead and figure its refined edge bit out. A little bit in here, and then just a little bit up here, a little tight right there. But this will be enough, I think, to do what we need. There we go. Okay, now that we have our edges, we can scroll back up here to the top and go up to the Select menu, come down to Refine Edge right there. Here's our Refine Edge tool. I normally have mine set for overlay. I just find this very easy. It gives you kind of this pinkish overlay on your image. You can still see the image in behind, but you also can see right where your selection is. Now, the Refine Edge will be leaving all of these at their default settings. That's fine for this one. And then if you need to change your brush size, you can see there's the brush size. If you need to change that, that's right down there in the options where it says 35. Not really sure why this isn't over here in the Refine Edge dialog box, but it's not. It's over there. Okay, so now we'll start and just take this Refined Edge and just paint right along the edge there. We have a little bit of that selection. If you miss a little spot, just go in and catch it again and just paint along that edge. Now I like doing this in just little strokes. That way if I kind of mess up, I can easily back up just that one little bit. And just work your way around the figure. Again, a little bit at a time. Now if you're out too far, you can kind of cut in like that first, get closer, and then come in and get just the edge. If you miss a little bit, just go back and touch it up like that. The nice thing about this tool is this will make a selection. We'll use the selection for a layer mask, and we can then do some cleanup on the layer mask if we need to. So we have an option, have a chance to go back in and make sure that everything is just fine. Now with this tool, you can do the same thing. You can hold the space bar down, gives you that hand, and you can then move your picture. Let's now get the bottom part of this. Start over on this left side and just working right along that edge. Each time you let go, Photoshop Elements goes in and refigures that edge. It looks for the changes in contrast, changes in color, things like that, and it resets your edge right up to that point. And it normally does a very nice job. Sometimes it'll be too close in color. It goes very, very close right there. See if it does it. Actually, I got that okay. So, sometimes it may not work perfectly, but that's why we're going to be doing this as a layer mask so we can clean that up afterwards. Okay, there's a little bit of pink right in there. That's that bit that we did. Just kind of paint over that. Now that's going to have to be fixed, obviously. Let's see how we're doing down here. That might need some fixing as well. That probably will. So we may need to do the inside leg area here on the layer mask, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It just is just a few more steps. Now if you begin to see a little bit of pink like right in here moving into your figure, just switch over to this tool and then brush right over that spot, and that will clean that out. Okay, so far so good. We now can come down here to the Refine Edge dialog box, come down where it says Output To, and we're just going to output this to a selection and choose OK. There's our selection. So I kind of missed this and missed that. Didn't do a very good job here. We'll fix all of that. But there's a selection. Now all we need to do is to make a layer mask on this layer. Just hit the layer mask button, and then Photoshop Elements uses that selection to make the layer mask. You can see here we have a lot of background showing, so we'll clean the layer mask up as our next step. Now notice in the layer mask it's black on the outside and white inside. The black is hiding the part of the picture you don't want to see, and the white is showing the part of the picture you do want to see. So just by using black and white paintbrush on the image, we can clean up this layer mask. So if you're not on the mask itself, let's say if you're over here, you see that light blue outline right there? Just double click on the layer mask and you'll see the light blue outline over there. That's what you want to be looking at. Let's now switch over here to the paintbrush. Size is too small. I'm just going to squeeze this up a little bit here so you can see our brush size. That's real small. Now you want a soft edge brush. Just open this up, find some soft edge brush. Let's grab our 65. Double click on that. Here's your soft edge. It's a little large, I think, maybe for this. You bring that down just a bit. maybe down to about 40, right there, 48. Okay, there's our brush size, and I have black paint right there, bottom left-hand corner, and we're on the layer mask. That's all good. And so if you come in and paint on the layer mask, and you can paint out that stuff that you don't want to see. That's all you have to do on that. Just kind of come along and clean that edge up. Now if you're a little bit uncomfortable painting it like this, maybe you're a little shaky with your control on your mouse or whatever input you're using, what you can do is you can grab the polygonal lasso tool. It's this one right here, which allows you to make a very careful selection. Just come along the edge just like that where you need to do any cleanup, and then back around, back to the beginning right there. Go back to your paintbrush, and then you can paint in there, and the selection will protect that edge. Deselect that. So that's another way to do it. Now for me, I can just hand paint this. I think I'm steady enough. Just take your time and come in and hand paint that. Same thing in here. It's a little bit large on the brush, so I'm going to come in and paint it with this brush first, and then I'll make the brush smaller to catch those little corner areas. This might actually be a good spot for making a selection. So polygonal lasso tool, and just take your time, come around here, make a nice clean selection. When you're using this tool, don't click the button too fast. If you click too fast, it's going to collapse the selection and you have to start over again. There we go, a little selection, paintbrush, and there we go. And we deselect that. Back to our lasso tool, let's just get these corners up here. Right in there. And back to the beginning. Back to our paint. And there's the corners. And then deselect. Okay, that one's good. Let's get this section in here. I'll use that polygonal lasso tool again for this section as well. It's getting pretty tight in there. If it's outside, I don't mind freehanding it. If it's in a tight spot like this, it's a little bit easier to go ahead and make a selection. Now all this selection and mask stuff, this is where all the hard work is on this. And if you take your time in here, this is what's going to give you the best results. Once this is done, everything else is real fast and real easy. So this is where to take your time. This is where to put the quality in on your finished product, is the selections and the layer mask. Okay, there we go. Back to our paintbrush, and then quickly paint in black. Again, on the layer mask, takes care of that. Select, deselect, and let's get our final section right up here. Back to our polygonal lasso tool, and let's go ahead and do this little bit as well. Now these of course are designed for use in scrapbooking, things like that, where you're planning on cutting them out, and the white area just helps to separate it from the background. It also helps to make it easy to have a nice area to cut into. And black in there, there it is, and then deselect. Okay, that's done. Let's now go back to freehanding, and I'll just get along the edge here. I'm just looking for little spots where I can see a little bit of the background is kind of vaguely showing through. Looks pretty good around here. Looking down this right side, looks pretty good. And we've done the feet already. Now if you want to really see exactly where your layer mask is, I'm just going to hide the background here. This also helps. I can really now see if I missed up any spots. That all looks pretty good. Just looking along in there, I think we're all okay on that. Alright, so we have our lion now separated out from the background. That is the first part of this whole process. Let's just zoom this back to fit on screen. So there's the lion nicely positioned, maybe a little high. I think I'll just pull him down a little bit. There we are. And cleaned off from the background. Put our background back in just for effect. Now we need to do that white border around the lion. To do that, let's put a white layer underneath the lion layer. Come down to the layer beneath this one. This happens to be the background layer, but just the layer underneath the lion layer. Make a new layer, and fill this with white. So I'll change my foreground color to white, get the paint bucket, click inside, and that fills that layer with white. It's hiding the background right now, but we'll take care of that in just a bit here. Back to our Move tool. Now come up here to the lion layer. That's right there. Take that layer mask and holding down on the Alt key, which is right there, click on the layer mask. What that does is it opens the layer mask up all by itself. Right here you can see that. Now go over to the magic wand and click inside that area. Now if you may want to put your tolerance down to, just down to about 4 or 5 down here. Real low tolerance. Let's just do that again. There we are. Nice and tight. Tolerance of 5 on that. It gives us a nice little layer mask selection. To go back to the image, just double click on the image side and you're back to your selection again. If you see this kind of pink out here, just click off the layer to a different layer and then click back on our layer again. There we go. Now that's the basic selection that we had before. Just clean up a little bit because of that use of the magic wand there. Now that's basically the selection we had before, except that this now includes all that additional stuff that we didn't get with our initial selection. Now I want to make the selection larger and come around out here. And we'll do that by going up to the Select menu, come down to Modify and Expand. Now the number you use in here will be arbitrary depending upon the size of your file, the size of your images and so forth. You may need to try this a couple of times to get just the right number. On this particular one, this demonstration, 70 pixels works out just fine. And just choose OK. And what that does is it expands out that selection out 70 pixels from where it used to be. We can now come down to our white layer here. We have our selection, and then just hit the layer mask button, and there you go. There's your layer mask making that white outline. And it's that easy to do. So again, as you can see, all the work really is done in making that initial layer mask and selection, cleaning it up, and just kind of redoing that. So that's it. That's all there is to making a nice, clean, neat white outline around an object, around a person, around an animal, whatever, to use for any use you want, either as a graphic effect or for use in scrapbooking. Let's now dock this in the middle. There we are. And let's talk about this background. Now I tossed this background in here just to make this look interesting, just have some color back in there. Obviously, if you wanted to print this out, to cut these pieces out, you wouldn't want to be seeing that background. That's easy to do, just show or hide the background right there. Now where I found that background is in the graphics section. There's graphics, set up by type, and also backgrounds. There it is. And then scroll down just a little bit and find one that you like. That's the one I chose right there. And that's all that is. This is just something that has some color in behind there so the page looks nicer while you're working on it. If you're going to be using this as a printout in order to cut around these images, then you don't need or you don't even want that background. You don't want to waste any ink on that background, so you want to just have that go away. Now notice when that's hidden, we have just white, and then there's no outside outline around these images. You can fix that easily enough. Just go to the layer mask right here. You can actually be on the image side. This is the white page. This is the outline for our lion right there. Go up to the layer menu, come down to layer style and style settings, and in here click on stroke, and then make sure that's set to outside, and you increase the size of the stroke. And see, there's a stroke right there. You can actually add a stroke to the outside of that shape. Just give it a real small size, maybe 3 pixels is really all you really need on that. Gives you this nice little outline line around that, and then choose OK. Now if you've done several of these, to copy that over, it's real easy. Just right click on the name of that layer, come down to copy layer style, go up to your next white background, that's this one right here, and this one is the fox up there. Right click on the name and paste layer style. And the one right down here, this is the penguin right here. Right click and then paste layer style there as well. That's all there is to it. Now if we zoom in on the lion, see a nice little thin black edge now around that. So if you printed this out, you'd have a little thin black edge. Now you don't need to do that. This is just an option. Just one more way you can add a little bit of extra, something which might make this a bit more useful depending upon what your needs are. Let's just go ahead and bring the background back in again. Now if you don't need that black line, don't put it in there. If you want it sometimes and not other times, all you have to do on that layer is double click where it says FX. And in here, you can actually reset this or remove the stroke right there and choose OK, and the stroke's now gone. At this point, you might be asking yourself why I didn't just use the layer style to put this outline around the actual figure and not do it as a separate layer. There's a very good reason for that. First off, it gives you the option to put a second outline like we have around here, which you couldn't do otherwise. The other reason is you can change what's inside of this and actually do a fancier kind of outline if you want to for other reasons. I'm going to show you that. If I fill this layer, notice I'm on the background here, the white layer for that lion right there. I'm on the image side of that layer. Let's go up to fill. I'll just grab any old gradient. Here's one that's already in place. I'll put a gradient like that across there, and there's a gradient fill on that outline. So anything you want in here, you can do all kinds of real fancy different gradient fills. And that's just one example of what you can do because you have this as a separate layer. Let's just undo those two steps. There we go. Something else you can do, go here to the fill, little paint bucket, and you can actually fill this with anything from your patterns. There's all kinds of fancy patterns in here. I'll just grab something at random. This kind of a rock pattern. They're calling it strings. There you go. So you can put in patterns as well, or actually any image that you want can go into this location. Let me show you one more thing. Let's just undo that. One more thing you can do, again, because we have this as a separate layer with a layer mask, I'm going to double click on the background layer. This converts this into a regular layer. There we go. I'll now go to the layer mask up here, hold the Alt key down and drag straight down. That copies the layer mask down onto this layer. So the layer mask is now controlling this layer. Let's hide the white layer, and there's that colored layer, that background image inside of that border around or outline around the lion. So that's why I like putting these on their own layer like this with a layer mask, is it gives you so many more options all of a sudden to do anything you want to with what's inside of that outline. And you can't do that stuff if you're using just the layer styles outline. So it gives you a lot more control, a lot more possibilities in here. Let's just put everything back to the way it was, and I'll delete that layer mask. So there we go. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share this with your friends. Just go right down there below the video and click on that share button and then share through social media. Also, if you want to learn a whole lot more about how to use Photoshop Elements, the best way to learn this program is by using my complete training course, and there's a link for that right down there in the description. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.